Oh, that's what I was looking for before. Good morning. If I could get a sound check from somebody, that would be most awesome.
You're all good.
Perfect, thanks, Chuck. And you go by Chuck instead of Charles, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. All right, um, okay, so Old Town's having some Wi-Fi issues, so I bet you all thought, why are they so late, right? Because we're normally not. So, it's been bouncing all morning. I'm gonna hope that it holds for us. But if it doesn't, then it's gonna be, I'm sorry. So we will do the best we can. We're gonna give everybody a chance to get on here. And then we'll go. So I think everybody that's here knows who I am. But just in case you don't, my name is Margaret Gate. I'm one of the productivity coaches here at Keller Williams Avenues. And I am super excited to bring to you today one of the models that was put up at Family Reunion, or not Family Reunion, Mega Camp, sorry. And what's really cool about it is it's so doggone simple. And the person that they actually interviewed here, he had on the stage, this is so hard because I've got all of these guys and then I have you guys trying to figure out how to look at you all, and it's really hard. Anyway, this will work. I kind of have the peripheral going. And so the young gentleman that was interviewed by Gary, his name is Will Van Wycliffe, and he is a solo agent. He is out of Maine, actually. I actually Googled him last night to try and learn a little bit about him. It looks like he's got a pretty heavy Instagram and YouTube presence as well, which I'm guessing when you combine the simple golden letters that we're going to talk about today with that kind of social media presence, I have to believe it just magnifies it. However, this is 100% focused on his results from using the golden letters. Now, according to this, he took year to date, so that is year to date, he took 26 listings directly from this particular system and process. And what I like about it is it's pretty economical, right? When I look at this and I think about it, his responses, I guess I would have to figure it out. If you spent 20, who would spend, I just want to check my audience here, who would spend $29 to get a listing? All day long, right? That is cheaper than any Zillow lead you're gonna buy, any online lead you're gonna buy. You know, it's pretty inexpensive, and yet it's super, super simple. So, it has a flavor to geographic farming. However, it's not necessarily 100% farming. So, for those of you that are online, I'm guessing Elizabeth is taking attendance. I will send you the PDF of the actual one pager of the document that was given out. If anyone has ordered the Mega Agent Playbooks, it's included in there as well, but I'll get this out to all of you guys. But here's basically the steps. The first step is what you're going to do is you're going to send very simple letters, and you decide where you're going to mail them. Okay, so the first step is to pick your mailing area, right? And when you're picking your mailing area, it doesn't seem like you really need to put a lot of brain damage into it. Okay, his key focus areas is one, to pick an area that you enjoy traveling to each day to take and service listings and has interested buyers. So for me, I might be really interested in Breckenridge, but I'm probably not going to send these letters to Breckenridge. I'm going to let Mark do that up in Summit County. Okay, I live in Northwest Arvada, I am probably not gonna send them to Parker, Colorado. Right, so I'm gonna pick an area that I really want to work in and have a presence in, so I think that's the first part. The second part is an area that has an average sales price that works in your business model. In 2 weeks, we're gonna start doing the business planning. We've got the business planning clinic coming on October 10th. And, you know, we all are gonna build a business model based on our average sales prices. Right? So if I'm building my business model on $800,000 homes, then I'm probably not gonna send this letter to townhome and condominium units that are selling for 400. Right? Like, that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense either, right? So be aware of what the price points are in the area that you're sending them to. And then understanding an area that has an above average turnover rate for your particular market. Now that's a little tricky because we've had such a market with such low inventory that it's really hard to figure out who has the higher turnover rate. So my personal opinion is I would focus on the top two. I want the price points I want, and I want the geographic areas that I want. Okay? Questions on that so far? All right, basics done. All right. In the pro tip section of this, it states that he actually he has taken multiple luxury level listings using this letter. So it would be very easy when I give you the content of this letter that you're gonna say, well, there is no way $1 million seller is gonna respond to that. And I will tell you, in Maine, he has proven it wrong. And they have a much lower price point in Maine than we have here. So his luxury is probably closer to our 1.5 to 2. Okay. Setting up your system. Okay. We know in Keller Williams models are important, right? Those are critical to what we do, and they actually are what make it work. So in your letter, you want to have a call to action, and it's super simple. The call to action is going to be asking the homeowner to call you. That's your call to action. You can expect that once letters begin arriving, your phone will start ringing. Now, I thought this was very interesting, and I see Corey Holtman's on here with us. She actually got to hear the interview, so I'm hoping that if I miss anything, she'll chime in. You have the choice of, you can have them call your cell phone directly, or he would set up a dedicated voicemail phone number through like Google Voice or Sly Broadcast, and then they would go directly to that voicemail. And the reason he did the voicemail system is the way I understood it, is he set up a different phone number for each geographic area that he was sending the letters to. So I'm gonna pick on Amanda and Nikki. I know their business fairly well. And they spent a lot of time in Candelas and Layton Rock and Whisper Creek and those particular parts of Arvada. So if I was them, I might consider having one phone number for Candelas, another phone number for Layton Rock, another phone number for Whisper Creek, because even if I never talk to the people, seeing the phone responses that are coming in there will give me an idea of what the interest level is in those particular communities. So just in thought, right? It's just what he did doesn't mean that any of us have to do that if that doesn't make sense to you. He prefers to do the dedicated voicemail phone line, and here's what happens. When it calls that number, it automatically goes to the voicemail. And I will tell you what the voicemail says in a minute. You want to have a system. One of the pro tips he gave is that your voicemail system will actually transcribe the voicemail and email it to you. Right, so you'll have it, and we see this in one of the coaching phone numbers that we use, right? If you call us and you leave us a voicemail, it automatically converts that voicemail to text, and the coaches get an email. So I know that Google can do that, and Stacy's shaking her head up and down going, yep, easy peasy. So that way you get the information right away. The voicemail says, hi, you've reached the voicemail box of Will Van Wickler with Keller Williams and the number of his Market Center. I'm sorry that I've missed your call. I check my voicemail box periodically throughout the day and look forward to connecting with you soon. Please leave your name, number, and a brief message, and I will call you back shortly. Thanks again for calling and have a great day. Here's why he wants to go to voicemail. Does anybody have any thoughts why he might do that?
Well, Margaret,
Yes, sir.
coming off of the wonderful 72 sold experience, it is nice to be able to kind of pre-screen and see if this person is really who they say they are. We up here, we get forewarned. So you put the cell phone number in, it pulls up their address and background information. Instead of chasing every single one, using it to kind of be a little bit more discerning.
Yeah. This will be a little better than 72 sold because we will have the name of the homeowner. We'll be mailing a mail piece directly to them. So I would think that the 72 sold problems won't be raising their head as high here. But you're right, part of it is he does the homework, right? So before he returns their phone calls, he goes to the MLS, he goes to the tax records, and he does some research on the home and cross references to see which buyer in his system might actually do that, right? So he's using it as time to do a little homework before he calls them back. Don't have to have all the answers, but at least a little bit of knowledge. And here's what I love about it. As your businesses grow, we talk about what all the time? We should always, what's the third L in the triangle? Leads, listings, and leverage, right? So if you build a system out like this, can you allow when those voicemails come in that those go to maybe in the future an ISA, right? Or maybe a virtual assistant who starts doing all of that homework for you. So by building a system while you're by yourself or a small team in doing this, always be thinking about, as I grow this and this gets going and I get so busy with 8 listings a month, I'm gonna need some help. Building the system for when you need help is a whole lot easier than going through the pain and recreating it, especially when he's given it to us. So thinking down the road for some of you big thinkers going, how can I leverage this? And we're gonna talk a little bit about some other ways to leverage this as well, okay? Questions on step number 2? It's a pretty fast system. Because there's only 4 steps and we're halfway through, okay? Step number 3, we're gonna send the letter. And I think this is my favorite part. He uses a simple 8.5 by 11 white piece of paper with black text. And the sample letter he sends is this. It's got the KW logo, it's got his name and return address, and it says, "Dear owner's name, would you be interested in selling your home at the address of the property to a client of mine? If so, please call me on my cell at," and the phone number of whichever Google service he's using. "Thank you, Will Van Wickler." Then it gives his website address and his cell phone number. And then he's got the disclaimer. "If your home is presently listed with another realtor, please do not consider this to be a solicitation. Sincerely," and he signed it. Simple. Right? So Corey, I think it was you or Charles or both when you were talking about this young man. You know, we've heard about and throughout the different golden letters, like people will get fancy and they'll use colored envelopes. Or they'll put them through send out cards and make a fancy little card and send them out that way. Or they'll do different colored ink, or they'll have them typed versus handwritten. Did he indicate on the stage if any of that made a difference?
They asked him multiple questions about, have you found a difference if you do handwritten? Have you seen a difference if you handwrite labels versus just stick them on? And the answer across the board was no. Didn't matter.
No difference, right? So, you know, some of us go to let's go buy a bunch of colored envelopes and, you know, let's get some pretty fancy gel pens and let's spend hours handwriting that note. And the reality is, type it, throw it into mail merge for those of you that know how to do that. And let the letters all just start printing out on your copy machine. It doesn't matter what. Yes, Mark.
What is the name of that mail service you said you use?
Well, mail merge is okay. Stacy, Amanda, somebody help me. Mail merge is a way that you can do what?
You just get your Excel sheet where you could keep a whole list and then go into one of them and it drops down mail merge and then you just put in, you could select a list and then it literally can change all of them into labels right there.
It's just Microsoft Word.
Gotcha.
So it can literally bring over their name and their address and then just print the letters for you. So you don't have to physically go in and type them. Right? Again, a virtual assistant can do this for you. Right? So I love the fact that we can keep this so simple. Right? The other thing I love about the fact is there any point in time of day that if you are printing letters or stuffing them in envelopes or putting stamps on them, that would be an inappropriate time to reach out to somebody? Right? And some of you are looking at me like dead stares, right? But I grew up in a family where you don't call someone before 9 o'clock in the morning and you don't call after 7 o'clock at night unless it's an emergency, right? In business, there's some common sense hours that we don't pick up the phone and call people or text them, right? You can do this at 2 o'clock in the morning. Right? There's none of that assumed it's not appropriate to reach out. So this is a great lead gen method, especially for people who are dual career, who are working in I was looking at some of these faces and we got dual career agents that popped on this, right? It's hard during the day to reach out to people, but you can make these at 9 o'clock at night. Watching dumb TV is what I call it, right? One of the tips that they had is another leverage one, is if your children are old enough or capable enough, well, why don't you leverage them to do the folding, the stamping, the stuffing of the envelopes, right? Sticking the labels on them, right? And it's a great way to give the kids some money and check with your tax accountant, but there are ways that we can pay our children, and give them some spending money by doing these types of things, right? So again, we can have a virtual assistant, we can use our family, we can do it ourselves, whichever way works, right? His number one thing on this was to remember that everything you've done up to this point is designed to make the phone ring. Make sure you return those phone calls as fast as possible. So that, in theory, that's his 4-step system. Pick an area, create your system, which we literally just handed to you, or we will be emailing to you, send out the letter, and then respond. So you're all going, so you told me it's only going to cost me less than $30 to do this. How is that possible, Margaret? Well, let me tell you his numbers. For every 300 letters he sent out, 300, he would get 6, and for those of you in coaching yesterday, I was going off of memory from what they told me off the stage, but the document says, and it could be somewhere between 6 listing conversations, so 300 letters, 6 conversations, so that's 6 people you now have the ability to get more information from to put in your database, even if they're not ready today. And those 6 listing conversations resulted in 1 signed listing. 300 letters is going to cost you under $30. Questions? Thoughts?
I have a thought or a comment.
So you go, Kathy, and then we'll go to Mark.
I've done this, well, 3 times now for when I was in search of a particular listing for a client. One was when I was a very new agent, then one a few years ago, and one this week. So I did follow this one page exactly, except I don't know how to do mail merge and all that. So I did use my card service with a very plain card and shot that off. I think those went out on Saturday, so we'll see. But the other 2, I totally got a listing for my buyer and I I didn't double end the deal, but I treated the clients, the listings as customers, but I got the job done. And so they do work. And neither one of those, I think those were to like less than 30 homes.
Exactly. Mark, you had a question?
Can you elaborate on how we get the addresses? You mentioned yesterday you go to land title.
I do, and I have a guest in the room with me, so we're gonna talk about that next. But here's what I can tell you, you are right, Kathy. I know that Amanda and Nikki have had success with this, looking for specific properties for their buyers and doing a very highly targeted campaign, right? Sherry and Mara, same thing, and again, we're not talking about $100,000, $500,000 condos, we are talking about upper end people, and here's the reality. I think that a lot of people would sell their house if it was easy. And by sending these letters out, we're letting them know that it can be easy. Right? And especially if we're looking for buyers. Now, I'm waiting for someone to say, but what your letter says for a buyer of mine. Okay, and I'm pretty sure that some people's brains went, wait a minute, I don't have any buyers yet. Well, this office has a whole lot of them. Right? I know that there's some people on this call that are actually focused now on trying to find buyers and help those buyers show them that now really is a good time to buy. So, and by the way, don't every single one of you have the ability to buy a house? Maybe you're the buyer. But as you're going to these open houses, as you're working and you're collaborating and you're continuing to expand your networks, you're going to continue to find buyers. Oh, you could come in here, because that way I feel like I have my back to you. You're good, I'm working on all yours, so. Okay, all right. I just realized Debbie was behind me and I kept feeling like there was something, but I didn't know. So,
So Margaret,
go ahead, Judy.
so do you send this letter out if you have a farm? Do you send it out and then send it out like maybe quarterly? Or do you send this golden letter out and then do you do any follow-up after that?
I think, so I personally don't run this play, so I can't speak to that. I would absolutely believe that you could resend that letter a couple times a year. I'm remembering, I think it was Charles, that he told the story from the stage about the guy who called him up and spent great amount of time on the phone yelling at him about, take me off your mailing list, don't ever send me anything again, yada, yada, yada. And he kind of like just dismissed it, sent him the same letter back 6 months later, and he called and listed with him. So, yeah, I think that there would be. When you look on, if you guys follow Pivot Shift Ahead, which is the Facebook group that James Shaw started back when COVID first hit, and it's an amazing community to be a part of, there's a lot of conversations about golden letters there. I think if you have the ability to get people's emails and phone numbers and an additional follow-up is where the fortune is, right? So I would use it however you can. But I think this is a great way to get started. Okay, so how do you get the information? Well, I decided to bring somebody in who's a lot smarter on this than I am. And so I've asked Andrea Kwame from Land Title to come up here with me. Come on up, sit in the chair. I don't know if they can see. They will, because if you sit right there, we're right there.
In the hot seat.
In the hot seat. So Land Title has several different services that they can help us with. I know we have used getting mailing lists from them. You can get Excel, you can get mailing labels, and we've already learned, doesn't matter if you handwrite them or use the mailing labels. So as long as you can put a mailing label on straight, I'm all about easy. So Andrea,
Yes.
how can you help us find these people?
Okay, so many of you I've already met with and shown our lt.digital marketing site. And that's exactly where you go to pull a list. So the website's lt.digital, no.com.
Do you want to share your screen?
And so, sure.
Oh, but I don't know how to get you to share the screen.
Okay.
Sorry, unless you log into the link. Do you have a link to the Zoom?
Sure. I don't even check. From Elizabeth this morning, right?
So if you Braille, she's getting online, like if you think about this program, right? 300 letters. So if you use Will's results, so let's say that your goals mean that you need to have one listing appointment a week. Well, if 300 letters ultimately gets you to one signed listing, how many letters do you need to send a week? 300, right? If you only need to if you only want 2 signed listings a month, that's what your goals take you to, then you can send 150 a week, right? So you literally can take this, once we've set all the goals through the business planning clinic, you'll know exactly how many listing appointments you need to go on to with every week. Then you can figure out how many letters you need to send a week. And then that will help you figure out how to, I've lost my train of thought, then how many communities do you need? Right? If you need to send out 300 letters a week, then how big are the farm areas? And then start working around where you want to be and figure out how many of those areas will get you those kind of numbers. I mean, if you're sending 300 a week and you're sending it once every 6 months, that's a lot of areas, right? All right, look back to Andrea.
All right, so here we are. Here's our marketing site, lt.digital. I always go straight to products for anything I'm looking for on this site. That's just the easiest way to navigate. Over here on the left side are postcards. So for today, you'll ignore that. You'll go straight to address lists and stats. So we have a basic farm, a deluxe farm, a lender farm. So the lender farm is if you are searching by LTV or different lending terms. So that's something we could talk about. That's more niche. You guys today are talking about just the basic farm. This is $10 for up to $10 up to 1,000 contacts, which I hope nobody's mailing to more than 1,000. I mean, that would be a little bit incredible. You want to make sure when you're farming that you don't do too many right off the get-go. It depends on your area. Like maybe you're Jim Carroll and you've been doing his area for umpteen years. Do you guys suggest, this is the question I always get from agents here at Keller Williams, how many people should I farm to start?
Well, so this is a little different. So this golden letter is a little different than our traditional farming.
Okay.
So this is
a
where
one-time.
it's a one-time, I'm hitting 300 people. So I kind of like that I can get 1,000 names for $10. How many of you went, yes, please, that's cheaper than Margaret said it was gonna be, right?
Got it. Okay.
So this is about, like, maybe I ultimately want to hit everybody at 80007.
Okay,
Maybe I
so-
ultimately, so
Okay.
what kind of
Different thought, yeah. So a farm, if you're gonna be doing it over and over and over to establish yourself as the expert in the area, you want to start smaller. But in this case, get as many as you want. So $10 up to 1,000 and a penny for every contact thereafter. If you want printed labels, like Margaret was talking about, $13. So you just check that box. When you come into place the order, you always have to click on customize. We need to know all the details you're looking for. So of course, it's just your information at the top. It takes about 3 business days to turn around our product, so keep that in mind. And then you just start by choosing your county. I'm going to be working in Jefferson County. And I want, like Margaret said, just the entire zip code. You can do that. So you could do geographic area. And then in your second parameter, this is where you choose zip code. Or if you want to do the entire city. Or if you want the subdivision, or a neighborhood. So we can go to very tiny scopes to very large scopes. You can even do a radius around your home. If you're like, I want 1,000 properties radius around my property address. We could do street boundaries, north, south, east, west. So you would just select it in there. So say you're going to go with an entire zip code, and then you would just type in that zip code. And you could ignore the rest of the field. So you can keep going on if you wanted to drill down into that farm area, but we're going to go just one zip code. And then down here is where you're going to choose your digital output. Do you want it just in Excel? I imagine so. You guys are just looking for the mailing address. If you want an extended Excel, it's going to give you all the details, a long Excel spreadsheet of all the details of each property. And then down here, if you want mailing labels, you can also get a PDF for your records, so you can maybe make notes and cross through them. And then I would always suggest clicking this box for a walking farm, if you choose to walk it. But if that's a whole nother strategy on farming, but then at least you could make notes in your walking farm. But it's a free addition to the list, so why not? Another addition to the list, it's up to you, that I've been talking about in the last few meetings, is the likely to list tool. You would just type in here, please include likely to list properties. And we'll give you, according to GeoAdvantage and Big Data, the properties that are most likely to sell. So we could talk further about those parameters if you want, but it's free. Why not get an idea of all the people in 80007 that are most likely to sell? So if you do choose to go door knocking one day, you can maybe hit those homes first.
So if I had asked for 80007 and I wanted everybody that lives in 80007, and I asked for that weedy, what did you say, what it's called, the likely to list? I'm getting everybody, you're just gonna tag within the data which ones are most likely.
It'll be a
to list.
separate spreadsheet of likely to list.
So you get two spreadsheets, the
Yep.
likely to list and then the rest of them.
Correct, yeah.
Got it,
Yeah.
okay?
Good question. And that's it. So then you come down here, submit your order. Land title delivery, that's if I want labels. We'll deliver the labels to an office, whichever one you choose. You shouldn't have that office in there. Submit.
We have to have them delivered.
The labels.
Is there actual physical labels?
Yeah.
Oh.
I would say, I don't know how else you'll get them. You don't want to drive to our marketing departments in Orchard. You could drive and pick them up if you want, but you might as well just have them.
They won't mail them like if, cause some of these guys live remote or, you know, dual career, can't get down here always during the day. Would it be possible that they could have the labels mailed to their homes that's not inside the land title?
Yes, we'd have to charge for them. But yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Andrea,
Yes.
I live in Summit County. I do Summit Lake and Park counties. Do I need to do the deluxe to be able to pick those fields? Because basic has, Denver, Eagle County, those aren't included. So if I wanted Summit Lake and Park, I was playing with it on my phone. The only way I could really get that in was off the deluxe. Is that correct?
Correct, yes, so
Okay.
these are the Denver metro counties. When we go outside of Denver metro and other parameters, we're gonna be into a deluxe farm, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And it's another software system we have to use, different costs and fees associated than down here in the metro area.
So Mark, do you guys in Summit County, do you use land title or do you
Yes.
use a different company?
Nope, we use land title.
Okay, yeah, so work with your local person up there, cause they may also have some additional info.
Sure.
Okay,
Okay, so then you would add to your
Oh,
order.
we got a question, Miss Lala. And you're on mute.
Okay, you said for $10, we will get 1,000 contact. Is there a way that's a lot of people, is there a way to split that? Like if I wanna do 300 people in Morrison and 300 in Brighton, can I do that?
Yeah, so it's $10 for up to 1,000, so $10 no matter what. If you choose this zip code, and there's only 100 properties in there, you still pay the $10. It's a minimum fee search up to 1,000.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
For you would place two different orders. If you're looking for two different polls, for us to research two different areas, yeah, it'd be two different lists. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
To 1,000, it's always gonna be $10 and then a penny for every contact thereafter.
And the mailing labels are a flat $13 regardless of how many there are.
On top of the list.
Yep.
Yeah, yep.
So it's $23.
Okay, so then you'd go to your cart and check out, just like anything else. There's your $23. So that's just a basic farm, and we won't go into other farming strategies today, because this is about golden letters. Any other questions? No, pretty simple. And call me if you run into anything when you're placing the order. You can call myself, you can call our marketing department, we could walk you through it. The reason why you have to do it yourself is because we need your credit card information, so you don't wanna give that to me. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we can help with. I mean, there's.
So
a lot
do
of
any
options.
of the Excel spreadsheet options provide anything beyond address? Do you guys have the ability to get phone numbers or email addresses or anything
So-
like that in what you pull?
So this is so that's why it's so cheap and easy. We're just pulling from county records, $10. When you dig into emails and phone lists, that's census data and third-party companies can pull that for you, and we use Unique Litho. So you would come down back to address list and go to email and phone number list. Now, this information is only as good as people provide. Sure. So a lot of it's wrong, right? And we'll scrub it against the do not call list, but we use Unique Litho, or they're also called Kohler Marketing. And you would come in here and start your order with them. It's gonna be pricey, it gets pricier. This isn't just easy county recorded data we're extracting. So they're gonna charge you, I think it's about 8 cents for an email, 8 cents for a phone number, if they pull those. So the best way to do that, if you're thinking, is to come in here and get a quote. You'd fill out this form and answer all the questions of what you're looking for, and then they'll come back to you with a quote on what that list would cost for that, zip code.
So we could take our list that we get from you, so say I have 500 names. Not everything has to be 1,000 or 300, right? I have 500 names that you give me from my initial data pool, and then I wanna do some follow-up through email or phone. Obviously, only those houses that are not on the do not call list. I could upload that list into there and they would tell me how much it would cost to run it.
Okay, come right here where it says, do you already have a list, or do you need a list for us to create it?
So yes, I already have one.
There you go.
Then you upload it and there you go. So Kim, to answer your question, right, this takes us back to how can we develop a follow-up system off of a mailing list? Again, there's a cost associated with it, but man, the convenience of being able to get that information, you know, it may or may not make sense to you, right? And this is what I love about this system, as well as the tools that Andrea and Land Title provide us, is that we get to choose how many, how deep, how far we want to take it. But they are a one-stop shop in being able to help you get that data. Again, it's all leverage, right? Time is money, you guys. I promise you this. I could not in a day figure out how to print 1,000 mailing lists.
No way.
And I guarantee you, I can't figure out the mail merge either, right? So having them be able to do all of those things for me is worth $23 all day long, right?
I know you were talking about turnover rate. Do you guys want me to show you a free resource to figure out?
Absolutely, show us how we can figure out turnover rate, because when the market evidently someday changes, when we look at that a little differently when we're farming, I think that's a great tool, so let's look at that.
Okay.
Maybe we find out that we don't wanna work our neighborhood.
This is a resource I also recommend for you guys to pull for open houses or talking to clients about a certain geographic area. But if you come into this market trend report, this is a free report. Remember, it takes 3 business days to get things back from us, 3 to 4, but hopefully sooner. All you do is come in here and put in your name, address, phone number, again, what area you're looking for, what zip code, city, county, subdivision, and that's it. And then, well, besides telling us, do you want all of them? Or do you want to break them apart by different types of properties? Submit. I'll show you an example of what this form looks like. And I'll show you where the turnover rate is. So this is just,
Yeah, there we go.
whoa, okay.
We got a little crazy there.
Okay, there we go. Right in the middle, do you see where it says sales stats by year? And then right here, percent turnover. So this will tell you for each year, this is a really old report, it only goes to 2020, but yours will go to current. It will show you the percent turnover rate. So there's a 3% turnover rate. That means how many homes have sold in the last year. So if there are 100 homes in the neighborhood and 12 sold, you divide those numbers, that gives you your percent turnover. So you could also figure this out when you go pull this in RA Colorado as well. But what you're looking at is how many homes have sold in the last year, divide it by 12 months. How many homes have sold in the last 2 years, divide it by 24 months, and that's how you get your percent turnover rate. And this will also give you the average, and then the max sales price, minimum and max sales price as well. So an old rule of thumb that marketing gurus used to say is your turnover rate in a neighborhood should be 5% or higher. It needs to be worth your time. Homes need to be selling in order for you to spend those marketing dollars and invest in that neighborhood. If you're dancing around in a neighborhood where nobody ever moves, you're wasting your marketing dollars. So 5% or higher. Now, to Margaret's point, well, the market's been a little slower. So use this resource to go back. We're not going to go back to 2013, but go back and look at what the turnover rate, it was 5, 4, 6 in the past 3 years. Maybe average it out because it's going to be a little bit lower in the past year and as we move forward. So maybe work on an average system too, but just some good data to research in the area here. And like I said, this is a good report to use and bring to open houses and pass out. Tell people you're the neighborhood expert. You may not be interested in this home, but let me educate you on everything else in the area, whatever you would like. So free resource. And I'll go back again. That was at lt.digital. Under products and in the address list and stats area, market trend report. And then you guys have access to this. You're the realtors and the experts on data and researching an area, but say you're just on the go and you don't want to do it, we'll do it for you. 1 year sales report. This is very generic. This is all it looks like. It'll give you the sales in the last year and just graph out some data from you. That's another free report. I don't know if you need all this today. And then the last one is basic stats for an area. Again, you guys can pull this in your area, but we're happy to do it for you too. This will just be an email telling you the actives, pending, solds, average days in MLS, all that information for that specific area in that subdivision.
Awesome.
Lots of stats.
Question, so a question came across the chat. What do the mailing labels look like?
They're just white address.
Good old standard white labels that have the address pre-printed on for you.
Let me see. They're nothing fancy. They're not pretty. And again, to Margaret's point, don't worry about it. They're gonna open it, rip it open, tear through it. They're not looking at your pretty mailing label, but let's see here. Printed. Let me see if there's an example, just so.
And while you're looking at that, Lala, I saw you came back off mute. Did you have another question?
Margaret?
Go ahead, Lala, and then we'll go to Mark.
No, I don't have question. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
This might be a stupid question, but do we want to put a return address on that envelope?
Up to you.
I mean, if you want my opinion, yes.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. You'd want to know who you're mailing to and you're wasting money on if you get the return address, right?
I didn't, because I didn't know which address to use. If I use the office, then it would come back here.
Right.
If I use.
So I would not do a return address to my home address. I would do it to the office.
Okay, thank you.
You have to play with it and determine what creates open, you know, what allows people to open it in your area, right? Like if it's flagged Keller Williams Avenue as Realty, right? Are people gonna open it? Are they as likely to open it when it's a mailing label and a white envelope versus if it says Margaret Gate at 5701 Yukon, right? So now that suddenly looks a little more personalized, right? So, I mean, how many of you open your mail and can sort it at the garbage can, right? And there's certain clues that everyone's gonna have. So I don't see anything here on what Will shared at MegaCamp about the return address, and I don't know, I can't see everybody's screen now, if Corey's still with us, if it was asked.
Yeah, it just came up and I wasn't sure.
Maybe you would be more apt to open it if there wasn't a return address.
Right, exactly.
That's why I'm asking. You kind of can make the
Here comes
argument.
Debbie.
It was not something that was asked. I would say my instinct would be to put your name, and even if you use your office return address, so it's not your personal address, but I would put your personal name.
Okay.
I mean, I think that would make me most likely if it came from a person.
I also think it depends who you're marketing to, right? If you're marketing your personal neighborhood, people are gonna wanna know what's coming from their neighborhood, if you're okay with them knowing it's you. But I think that gives you validity, of somebody that's right there amongst them. So it just depends on how and who. Well, and your volume, right? Like I made the comment, right? If your goals tell you that you need to send out 300 letters a week. And you're gonna send one letter every 6 months. Well, I don't know, 300 a week times 26 weeks, how many letters am I sending out? I can't even do the math that fast, right? It's thousands. Right? It's gonna be different than if I'm doing it in my neighborhood. If I'm doing it in Candelas and everybody knows AM Homes, that's different than if I'm sending it to Lakewood where I don't live. Right, so again, I think that it depends on where you take this, in your business, right? Yes, Andrea is our representative for all things land title lead. And we're gonna have her give her contact information here in a minute. Stacy, can you check the chat for me? I see there's 4 and I only saw 2 of them come up, so I don't know what the other ones were.
You know, to this point as well, my own opinion is if you are going to be sending out 300 letters or more at a time, if you do bulk mail, you're going to end up putting the people's address or current resident. And if you're going to be doing your own personal neighborhood, that might be one. I don't use my own. I always use the address, the office address. But if you're doing the to Bob Smith or whatever, or current resident, but then you see that as kind of a generic, then they see that it's from your home address. I think they might be more apt to open it from a neighbor if you're doing bulk mail.
But I'm not sure, this is Margaret's opinion. I don't know that I would save the difference on the bulk rate versus the non-bulk rate. I think in this case, I would still use a stamp. Because I think bulk rate screams marketing, companies, businesses. I think it just runs up a flare. And I'm the silly one. I wouldn't go buy the Flag Forever stamps. I would use something more fun and personal, and like if they had a Charlie Brown or Snoopy one, man, I'd buy 10,000 of them and use those. So all good stuff. What do we got out there, Stacy, that I didn't see as they popped up?
Just a question from Anita. Can you use a PO box as a return address?
I would think so.
I don't see why not.
Okay, anything else?
No, just a thank you and Andrea for the sales rep. So.
Perfect.
Another, just question you could be asked, if you do get mailing labels, do you want them addressed to the owner? So Andrea Kwame or current resident, or do you want them sent to the owner at the mailing address where their taxes are sent? So these are non-owner occupied. Do you want that golden letter sent to Florida where they're residing?
I think I would,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there are people that build direct mail campaigns just to non-owner occupied properties, right? To try and get those people, get them sold. So,
Okay.
I mean, we haven't talked about if when we're gonna do this in our business or not, but I don't even know that on the label I would put or current resident. I would just send it to Andrea Kwame at 123 Main Street, Arvada, Colorado. I don't even think I want or current resident because I think it flags that it's a throwaway, right? If I think about the party invitation to Andrea or current resident, right? Exactly, right? Not even drinks in the driveway would be to or current resident, right? So I think you want to think about when you sort your mail, what are the triggers that automatically put it in the trash can? Bulk rate stamps, or current resident, neighbor at, right? All those things are the first ones that go. So you want to make it so that they want to open it. Good questions. Anything else? Okay, so I'm curious because I'm a coach. How are you determining the cost of $30 for 300 mail? So if I take 60 cents for postage at 300, that's $18, right? And then I added in the.
It's $80.
$80.
Oh, well, that probably means I like need to take a math class. Thanks, Anita. No one in coaching caught me on that yesterday, but it takes a former lender who played in the math all the time to go, where is she getting those stupid numbers?
But I'm not a math person, so I'll let her go,
Okay, for my coaching clients, will you please get your calculators out next time something doesn't make sense?
That was totally my fault. Mine was the scientific notation after I said, oh no, that's right.
It's still a pretty cheap listing agreement, Anita. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, so here's the coach in me. Who's gonna do it? Okay, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Kathy's sitting back. There's no peer pressure. I don't care. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. If you're not, you're not. Right? But here's the thing. I want to hear back how it's working. Right? I want us to have a group of us get together and talk about, right? Okay, so we put this together, right? So when are you all gonna send your first batch? This week? Next week? In the next 2 weeks? Between now and Halloween? Like, when do we want to, those that are trying, guys, come on, get together, just have a quick little chat and say, oh my God, I sent out 600 and I got my phone rang off the hook, or like, I think we can learn from each other how to take this to the next level. Right, so if you are going to do this, if you would send me an email at margaretgate@kw.com, that way I know who's playing. And we can then kind of just come back together and share best practices, right? And then maybe next year you'll be the agent on the stage, getting interviewed by Gary Keller about your golden letters. So with that, if we don't have any other questions, wow, I went the whole hour and I didn't think I would. So, all right, have a great day, you guys. Go make more friends. Have an awesome one. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.